to go through. What's up, Luca Nation? Cage will do the kickoff, the Super Bowl live post. Go ahead, my friend.
What's up, everybody? I mean, we'll give it a minute for folks to join on the live here, but for the folks who weren't able to, there was a game yesterday. It was a fun one. Listen, let's start off by saying this. All fun stuff aside, let's take cards and performance out of the equation, because I think I'll start off by saying today it's amazing that Patrick Mahomes has already been, called the GOAT by some people online. He's already passed Brady somehow in the minds of some people. He has won 2 MVPs. He has won 2 Super Bowls. He's been to a bunch of AFC Championship games. He is most likely, a top 10 quarterback of all time if he just doesn't win anything else beyond this with the run that he's had. That said, I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of his cards start going down very soon also. So it's fun, guys. I know everybody's a fan. Everybody takes stuff personally and all that other fun stuff. But if you go back to the take that we gave in the end of October, which has taken on a life of its own now, some great memes, some great stuff being done by the fans here. The point we were trying to make about Jalen Hurts was he may turn into a very good quarterback. He may even go to the Super Bowl. But at the time, basically an MVP and a Super Bowl win were already baked into his prices. So he could win the MVP. He could have won the Super Bowl. He could have done all those things. But my take, and this is from a card perspective, was that if you are balancing the risks here, it would be better to sell back in October, because if any of that breaks the wrong way, if he gets injured, if he doesn't win the MVP, if he doesn't win the Super Bowl, maybe he even gets eliminated earlier than the Super Bowl. If all those things happen, if any of those things happen, the card prices will most likely come down. And more importantly, if it broke the right way, if he did win the MVP, if he did win the Super Bowl, could there have been some upside? Could I have been wrong? Sure, right? I'm not infallible. I don't have all of the answers. If I did, I probably wouldn't be doing this ridiculous podcast with this guy. Look at the biggest mistake staring at me right there. But the point being, the upside potential in the event that everything broke right for Jalen Hurts was just not there, right? It was such a minuscule amount that the cards could go up from where they were. They had already run so much that the prudent move, risk versus reward, was to take that money off the table. Because if it broke the wrong way and you still love Jalen Hurts, you probably would have an opportunity to buy back in the offseason cheaper than what you sold for. That's not me saying Jalen Hurts sucks. That's not me saying Jalen Hurts is not going to be a great player. He could very well win a Super Bowl one day. And you know what? If you listened to me and sold him in October and now watched him get injured, not win the MVP, not win the Super Bowl, sure, he did. He played great. And we could talk about how great he was and how I was, surprised with how the game flow went. Great post-game interview with Mahomes and Kelsey, talking about how a lot of their players seemed kind of shell-shocked in the first half and that they settled them down at halftime and came out firing on all cylinders. You wouldn't expect that, but there are people on this Chiefs team that were not there last time around. Everybody's expect, well, the Chiefs
Mind if I play Mahomes and you're the players who are unsettled? So we keep you on the straight and narrow. So, game flow. I love that. I want to get a recap of the game.
Yep.
I want to talk about Hurts the player and Hurts' cards. Two separate things. People equate them. Mahomes the player, and then also Mahomes cards.
Also separate things.
I want to hear your take, Kansas City offense versus this number one defense, what you saw. I want to hear about what you saw at the Kansas City defense versus the Philly offense. I want to hear your take on this last week and a half of San Francisco 49ers players chirping at the Eagles and saying all that stuff. I want to hear your thoughts on the holding call. We're going to go through all those. Erase your brain. Don't worry. I have it written down. We don't need to use that bandwidth for memory. Before we get into that, I want to ask your opinion. We've done this show 923 episodes. This is probably more.
Yeah.
What have you learned about the collecting public as we've gone through this? And I know that could be 50 minutes of
No, I'll just spend a couple minutes on it. I love the collecting public, right? Because it's funny. A lot of people who have gotten into the hobby recently have left. the hobby because the easy money wasn't there. A lot of people who got into the hobby, were just coming in to flip, and I'm going to buy this, I'm going to rip this, and I'm going to spend $20, I'm going to turn it into $100, I'm going to do it 50 times over again, mug life. But there are people who came into the hobby who are fans. And let's not forget, fan is short for fanatics. And I'm not talking about the company. I'm talking about the word. And what I love about the collector base is I will take somebody who goes into my DMs and flips out on me about how I'm not giving Jalen Hurts the respect that he deserves. Because chances are that's somebody who is not going to listen to me and sell. That's somebody who is buying their forever Jalen Hurts card. There's somebody who's going to PC their Eagles and they're going to hold on to it. And we need that. We need people who are buying cards because they love the cards, because they love the players, and aren't in it just for the, I'm going to sell now at a higher price and buy back in and blah, blah, blah. So card collectors, I love the fanaticism. I love the, the passion behind it. I really do. But
passion will leave you blind. Passion will leave you blind, and it'll give you so many blind spots because what I've noticed with passion and discussion with the collector base is oftentimes you're just talking past each other.
Yeah, but the reason for that is because we have different topics on our show, and we have different topics in the hobby. And I think the hobby has room for both investors and collectors, and I think that there are people who can be considered both. I think some of the most successful people in the hobby can be considered both. I got a great DM the other day when you were talking about, how the hobby was stressing you out, or you were afraid and, selling. And somebody messaged me and said the reason why Andrew is afraid or Andrew is being so stressed out by this is because this is not his hobby. People who have a hobby, they don't come to a hobby to get stressed. They come to a hobby to avoid stress, to escape the stress.
I don't come to the hobby for stress. I come to the hobby
because it's a business
for profit.
Correct.
Profit.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Then I try to make it into a business by taking the profit, what I learned, and creating a media platform that eventually I would hope that would become a business. But in those middle awkward teenage years, it's not a business and it's not a hobby.
That's right.
I'm not an athlete. I'm not a kid anymore, but I'm not an adult.
There are people who can come in. Yeah, people who come in here, they can come in to invest, and you know what? They're going to lose money and they're stressed to it, just like any other investment. You know what I mean? Like people don't treat the stock market like a hobby. It's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to have fun with today. Let me go buy some shares of this and watch the price. So I mean, there's room for both here. One
of the comments that this gentleman left. We're not going to name names today. It's not going to be fun for anybody. He wanted us to not be an opinion show. He wanted us to have data and stats. So I'll throw some data at you, and then Cage, you'll tell me what you thought of Jalen Hurts, the player, and then Jalen Hurts' market, what you think, because we did have a huge discussion. Market going to tank? Is it going to stay consistent? Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? So you'll share your thoughts. But when the Eagles were 6-0 6 months ago, that was right here. So card ladder index is made up of a variety of cards. You could choose the cards differently. It could be gold prism. It could be national treasures. It could be base silver and prism. So the market right here, this is when they were 6-7-0 when the clip was posted.
Basically maximize the profit that you bought in at the beginning of the season. Same thing. 100%.
So last 6 months up 80%. Last 3 months up 13.5%. Yep. That's essentially from November to now. He battled a little bit of injury there. Remember with the shoulder guys.
Yep.
And here it is to the Super Bowl. Now, last month down 1%, and last 2 weeks down about 3%. Yep. Now.
So stop for a second. because I want you to pull that back up. The sales volume one is going to be the most important one on the bottom there. So that's going to be the interesting thing. So guys, keep in mind there. What we just showed data is if you bought Hertz in the beginning of the season and you held them and you're selling now, you're doing fine, right? So somebody can look at that chart and be like, well, then you're wrong. You're wrong, Cage. I mean, why should I have sold? It's a slow and steady up. Okay, so go back to what I said. Andrew gave you the 6-month chart, which was up 80%, and he gave you the 3-month chart, which was up 10%, and the couple of week chart, which is actually down, let's call it flat. At that 3-month mark, that middle mark, that was when I said sell. You had captured the vast majority of that 80% run up there. Right? And who knew what was going to happen? Who knew what was going to happen with his injury? Who knew what was going to happen with the run, the Super Bowl, the run?
Let's put a term to that. That's called the risk.
Risk versus reward. So if you held, sure. If you happen to be the single person who went in and bought every single one of the cards that are in this card ladder index, you're probably doing okay. But if you bought a if you bought a Jalen Hurts silver PSA 10 at the price that it was on October 29th, or didn't sell it there, and you're holding on to it, chances are that to sell it now, losing percentage, losing the whole 9 yards, you'd probably be about flat with him going to Super Bowl, with him having his stuff. And what I'm curious about happening is what's going to happen now after the Super Bowl, because the bigger chart there is that sales volume. Because this is what happens. This is what happens. The difference is people don't seem to realize price movements go on supply versus demand. All right. And you like to think that when somebody does something great, the demand for them is going to go up. And that's probably correct. And I would even venture to say for the Jalen Hurts fans that are out there that after his performance in the Super Bowl yesterday, I would bet the demand may even go up. Even though he didn't win, I'll bet the demand will go up because he had, an amazing performance, better than I thought he was going to do. 3 rushing touchdowns, tied Terrell Davis's record. Had that awesome, comeback. Davis is awesome. Most running touchdowns for a quarterback in the Super Bowl ever. I mean, just a really, really great game played, overall, and no reason to dump him. I mean, look, the fumble wasn't as bad as a Bush fumble, kind of cost the team. It is what it is, but we're not going to dwell on that. He had a great game. He had a great game overall, and I would think the demand is going to go up. But here's the problem. The demand will not go up as much as the supply will go up.
So, real quick, just actually finish your statement, and I'll give you guys data and numbers to that, because I'm prepared with numbers and data.
Andrew never lets me finish my sentence. The problem is my sentences are paragraphs, not sentences.
Your sentences are run-on.
So, and your sentences are non-existent.
Mine are fragments.
The point is that while the demand may go up, a lot of people who are buying Hurts cards were hoping that the Super Bowl was going to be that catalyst for his cards to continue to go up, and that they were going to hold and sell after the Super Bowl. So you're going to see a significant increase in sales volume. You can see it in the chart already. You're going to see a significant increase in the amount of cards that come out, in the amount of supply, and I think the supply will far outpace the demand increase.
So you see these like little kind of spikes right here. This is typically PWCC weekly ending or PWCC Premier or Golden. Yep. Look at this one. Yep. So this is 64,000. 63 cards were sold of Jalen Hurts last night on the closing of the Super Bowl. 4 National Treasures, as we've covered.
We talked about it in our PWCC episode. Yep.
25 cards over $1,000. Now we look at Mahomes. 25 cards of his sold. So 63 cards of Jalen Hurts sold last night, 25 of Mahomes. That's the supply challenge that's going to be hit in the market the next 3-4 weeks. Is you're going to, and you see it already for next week's auction. Again, Hurts has 60 cards in the PWCC weekly.
And guys, it's not just like I'm putting in an optic PSA 8, right? So we talked about this in our PWCC episode.
Average is $1,000. 63 cards sold, 64,000.
But more important than that is even rare cards are not scarce with him, because everybody was holding these cards hoping they were going to sell them when he won the Super Bowl. And the true RPA, the National Treasure's true RPA out of 99, which is a card people are going to look for, a card people would say, like, that's a bellwether card. 3 of the 99 plus a white box 1 of 1 of the same friggin' card all sold in one auction last night at PWCC. When 3 of the true 99 RPAs sell in the same weekly auction, that's not to mention what may have sold on eBay or anywhere else. that's that's a lot. That is a very good indicator. It's just one data point, but it's a very good indicator that people who are holding these things were looking to take advantage of him being in the Super Bowl and hopefully winning it.
So I want to ask myself, what do I think of the collector market, of the people listening to our show that are engaging with our content?
Nice.
Here's what comes to my mind. How do I word this? What's the metaphor to use? So here's what I've observed. So this is a free program, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, very free.
But I've also noticed a pattern of people enjoying arguing for arguing's sake.
Correct.
So as if this program had something to sell you, i.e., I think that you should short Jalen Hurts' market, or I think you should buy Mahomes. If there's a paywall and said buy my picks or buy whatever it is, that there would be some understanding here. But this is a free program with an opinion show where we go and we spend our time, our effort to research and show you guys data points. Cage has decades of experience. So the whole point of this show is to say, hey, here's some of the things that I've seen in the past. You guys go and take this. We've got you to second base. Take it home. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're right. Finish the work. Verse, I notice, most of the hobby, actually I would say the 99% of the people that engage are arguing for arguing's sake versus trying to understand or learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's futile because we have nothing to get to sell you.
But there's a word
Cage
for
gains
that.
nothing.
That's the internet. That's the way it works. I mean,
I think that they're fine. Go ahead.
No, I mean, when an influencer posts something, chances are, 9 out of 10 of the comments to it are, you're wrong. And what about this? And what about this thing you did that failed? And blah, blah, blah. It's people who are trying to get themselves noticed.
Who cares?
This is what people do.
Who cares if it's right or who cares if it's wrong? The gentleman that's like, oh, you posted that you're going to take the Chiefs. I'm going to take the Eagles. I'm going to fade you. Well, that helps no one. There's no compelling evidence. There's nothing intellectual about it. It's I'm going against you because I'm bored and I want to be argumentative versus, hey, Cage, have you
I didn't see that,
this?
by the way. I didn't see that. Is that the one guy who came after the I've blocked one person in my entire time on Instagram. It's the guy who was giving me crap about the prop king
prop
stuff. Bets. Yeah, the prop bets. And so I didn't see that if he commented that.
Well, the point is
less drama.
Forget about Cage. Forget about Andrew. This is a community forum. So if you say, hey, I don't agree with this, here's why. Here's what I've seen. Hertz Gold Prism is up 60% since September. Hertz NT is up 30%, and only his base cards are down. So you took what we said, and you ran with it, and you were able to let the listening audience or the following audience learn from it. Versus we just argue for argument's sake, and it becomes, well, I'm trying to say something, you're trying to say something else. Neither of us learn, neither of us benefit, and it's like, this is just a waste of time. But this person's not doing anything wrong, so I don't want to block him. But I'm like, this is getting nowhere. There's no value for me. There's no value for you. And there's no value for anyone reading this comment.
Listen, but this is the world. I love that stuff. I mean, I forget what it was. There was something that was in one of the comments that was very derogatory. Not even about me, about somebody else. It was a reply where I was like, I don't need this stuff in here. Like, I don't block it. I think I've literally blocked one person. I don't even block Ziggy. Sometimes you deserve it, Ziggy. But listen, this is what happens. That means we're saying something that people are listening to, and also it touches a nerve. And I think, really for me, it's. I mean, I don't want to touch nerves. I don't want to touch any of these people. But I get it.
But with the holding call,
yeah.
So forget Andrew and Cage.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We've never. Why should you listen to us?
Why?
But
because I'm funny as shit.
Sure. But the internet today is all up in arms over this holding call.
They would have found something. If they didn't call it, the Chiefs fans would have said, oh, my God, can you believe this hold over here? He spun him around. He grabbed his jersey.
But here's the player from the Eagles comes out and says, I held him. I grabbed him, and I just thought I would get away with it, right?
Classy move.
And people still argue with that. That, to me, is so interesting about today's internet.
So I think it's less
than
internet. It's sport now. The funniest thing that I thought was I would love to make a video edit of it where I know it's a Super Bowl, it's different, but LeBron had that game against Boston where at the end he was writhing around on the floor about the foul that he got. He was praying and just rolling around on the floor. And if you pull up LeBron James's Twitter page last night, you'll see a note from him about how the ref shouldn't be deciding the game, which is laughable given his histrionics the other day during his game against the Celtics, where
It was clearly a foul, though.
he got fouled. He got fouled, right? But the refs didn't call it. So there's a foul. Do you want the refs to not call that foul? Because now what he's saying here is, hey, there was a penalty. The Eagles guy said he committed a penalty, but LeBron James is now saying that shouldn't be called. But when it's on him, it should be called. And I think what's funny about this is it's a great argument topic. It's a great my fandom versus your fandom. Sports there's going to be more of this, and it's actually going to take some of the enjoyment out of the game, because there's going to be a lot of 50-50 calls, judgment calls that are going to be left up to the zebras, because now with replay, the point of replay was to get it right. The point of replay was there are some egregious things that get missed, and we should be able to do it right. It's not every play should be. Look at this Dallas Goedert one. Did he have his foot down? Look at this Devontae Smith one. Did he have the catch? Did he have the stuff?
I think replay did a good job with the pass. There was the pass to the wide receiver. He took 2 steps but didn't take a 3rd step. He fumbled, and it was a touchdown. I think 15 years ago, that's a touchdown.
I think so. What's funny is the Devontae Smith one, the one that they called no catch in the beginning of the game here, was actually closer to a catch than the one that they missed the week before that they didn't have time to challenge.
Yeah.
And the Dallas Goedert one, so what's funny is both of those are kind of bang plays that if the ref came back either way on either of them, you would have been like, okay, fine, I can see it. And what's funny, when you have those bang 50-50s, one fan base is going to be irate no matter what. And that's what you're generating with these replays, because think of the emotional swing on these things, right? The team's going down the field, the team's coming back, the team's going, and you got fan base going, well, what was the call? Okay, well, what is it? And it could go either way. And you got someone's going to be angry, someone's not going to be angry, and you're basically you're inputting, points of contention in a game based on challenges of these calls. You're now blaming the ref, which now the great meme is, Mahomes standing there swapping jerseys with the ref.
They did that after the Bengals game too.
Yeah. So
refs hurts. To me, and I get it. I don't know. The time of possession was clearly in the Eagles' favor, especially the first half. And we don't know the severity of a sprained ankle. It's impossible to know. Sprains are so one guy could be perfectly fine. Another guy needs 6-7 weeks to recover from a sprain. So we'll never know how bad a sprain was. 21 of 27, 6 incompletions. Mm-hmm. In basically, I would say half a game, because they didn't really have the ball in the first half at all. 3 touchdowns, 44 yards running. Mm-hmm. How has no one talked about the greatness of Mahomes?
Mahomes finally had a good Super Bowl. If you want to laugh about how everybody
2 and 4, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in the first few Super Bowls.
I mean, his completion percentage was 51% in the first 2 Super Bowls, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, not a lot of yards. He has not actually performed well in the Super Bowl until yesterday. Yesterday was a great performance. How are they not talking about him? Because everybody wants to talk about, first of all, Hurts had better stats. Hurts had better stats overall. He did. I know he didn't have more passing touchdowns. Is it a competition between
Hurts and Mahomes, or is it which guy gets his team to win?
Well, it's always about the win. It's 100% about the win.
It's always about the win.
And I'm sure enough people are going to talk about Mahomes and how he's the GOAT and the whole deal. And I've seen much more.
Why is it? Because
that's sports.
This is the interesting thing about sports is to say that Mahomes played incredible. To say that Mahomes is great takes away from Hurts, because Hurts had a better stat line than Mahomes.
But this is fandom. So you shouldn't be so surprised about that. These were 2 young quarterbacks playing head-to-head against each other yesterday. When LeBron James broke his record,
plays against the Eagles defense, and
just
Hurts
stop for a
plays
second.
against the
That's
Chiefs
a dumb.
defense.
You're just wasted 30 seconds. The teams played against each other yesterday. Fine, great correction. Thank you, wonderful. Now I'll make my point. Thank you. Which is last week LeBron James broke a scoring record, and when he did that, half the comments were, "Yeah, but he's not Jordan. He's not Jordan. Jordan would ice that guy. He's not Kobe. He's not the GOAT. He's not this. Jordan would kill him. Jordan had 6 rings and never lost in the finals." Well, last night, yes, Andrew, you're right. Mahomes was playing against the Eagles defense, and Hurts was playing against the Chiefs defense, but they were playing each other head to head. LeBron and Jordan never played each other once. But still, that's what fandom does. That's what sports do. These are the conversations people have to have. So yes, automatically, if you talk about Mahomes having a good game, the Hurts fans are going to say, come on, Hurts outplayed him. There's nothing wrong with that. That's sports.
I don't know if Hurts outplayed them. I think they both played very well, very, very well. But I also think that going into a game like this, you knew Hurts would have to put up those stats because the Chiefs' defense is like a revolving door where the Eagles were ranked what defense?
Number one.
Number one.
So the two biggest...
38 points. Now, let's take away 2 touchdowns because one was a defensive and one was Kadarius Toney basically running it back to the 5-yard line. But let's add the missed field goal. So let's say 27 points is how much Mahomes. So Mahomes against the first and second defense, 49ers, Eagles put up 44 on the 49ers head, and then in the Super Bowl put up 27 against the best defense in the league.
Yeah. They had a great game. They won the Super Bowl. I don't think anybody's saying he had a shitty game. You know what somebody's not saying and people should say? You know who was bailed out the most last night?
Don't know.
You're going to hate this.
Andy
But
Reid.
let me go. Andy Reid. Andy Reid was bailed out. I don't know why. So
I don't think Andy Reid coached.
I gave the Doctor Strange. There's only one way. One way. And that first half script, Andy Reid played right into the one way. Why give the Eagles the ball first? Why let them play with a lead? Why let them get that momentum and play downhill? And when you see them going for it on 4th down, and it's going to be touchdowns versus touchdowns versus touchdowns, you got to go for it on 4th down. Like Andy Reid, the first half that Andy Reid coached yesterday, I was like, what is going on here? What is going on here?
And that 3rd and 3 play that led to the missed field goal was a stupid play call too.
Bad play call. That whole
they could have taken over the game 14-7 there.
They put him. Yeah, they put him in a bad spot. Even the drive where there were 2 minutes left in the first half, and they were down 7, the play call on that drive, like you're getting the ball second half, like you could have one of those momentum swings. They call Cotton. They call that a 2-for-1 swing there. You drive down, you score the 7, you get the ball, you score the 7. All of a sudden, you go from down 7 up 7 without the Eagles ever touching the ball. But instead, the play calling was abysmal, and then the Eagles got the ball and kicked a field goal, and now you're going in down 10. It obviously didn't seem to matter, whatever they did at halftime. They hooped them all up and they got them all crazy, and they came out and they won. But I mean, listen, what's amazing is the Hail Mary throw and the fumble are going to be, because Hurts lost the game, are going to be what people talk about in that game. The fact that he couldn't, he came out 30 yards short. And he
couldn't even get any air under it. It wasn't even
nothing.
The distance.
So
it could be a shoulder thing though too.
Who knows? I mean, it happens. Do
you give
Reed was bailed out.
I agree.
Who was your MVP of the game?
I don't think anyone does what Kelsey does.
Kelsey's amazing.
I played Kelsey over 2 touchdowns and Kelsey over 3 touchdowns, and neither of them hit, but I couldn't be happier with either play. Kelsey is such an interesting player. I don't know if I've seen anyone else do this. So early on in the game, he exploits the defensive zone, and he messes up this defense. Then later in the game, he actually doesn't go out on routes. He blocks. Have you noticed that they didn't throw to him once in the touchdown?
He's a very good blocking tight end. They play 3 tight ends too. They play Gray and Watson also.
It's so interesting how always in the beginning of games, Mahomes looks for Kelsey, and then later on in games, he doesn't even go for routes. He's blocking. So that to me is such an interesting thing because explain that to me in football.
Well, first of all, he blows up in the first half. He has had some good second halves, but they wind up shadowing a safety onto him when he's on the line. And if he goes out or if it's a screenplay or if he blocks and then delays, that safety is basically spying him, and it opens up the other half of the field for Juju or Juju had a great second half.
And that's subtle, right? Most common fans don't notice that. They're like, why did Kelsey fall out of the game?
He draws defenders. So Ian's favorite player on the Chiefs is not Mahomes. I got his Mahomes jersey up behind me. His favorite player on the Chiefs, and it's funny, by the second quarter, he had my wife rooting for him also because I'll make a statement about him that I think is accurate. Pacheco. That's your MVP right there. That's your MVP. Ian was, he's great. He came on. I think he told her he came on in like
crushed.
week 7. He got trucked one hit, but he was back the play later.
That was
right? And picked up a first down the next play. That guy, he runs every play like there's someone in the stands with a gun to his family's head saying they're going to pull the trigger if he doesn't get 5 yards.
Are you
Like,
Gary
he
Vee
does
me right
not-
now? Every day, wake up and pretend that someone in your family got shot in the face.
No,
Are you Gary Vee me?
no. That's how he runs. Like his life or the life of the people around him depends on him getting 5 yards, not 1 yard, not 2. Like if he's going to get tackled at 3, there's some way where he's chugging forward, he's falling forward. Like he's got to get you those yards. Every play full tilt. Like he's a guy I would build a PC on, but the way he plays, as you saw from that hit, he may only last 4 years in the league.
Well, they had Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was that guy, and now he does.
Well, Edwards-Helaire was a different type of runner. This guy, he looks like Tyreek Hill back there at running the ball, at running back. He's shifty, right? But he runs with power. 7th round pick, 100% allowed collector. He was a 7th round pick and didn't start playing this year until I think like week 7 where he got in the role. But just another one of those things where the Chiefs as an organization, they don't need to have like a first round running back. They'll find a plug and play option. They'll put him in there and, hey, Tim, welcome to the First Time Live. That guy was when they needed a first down, they needed, whatever it was, great. Also, that Eagles defense, great in the trenches. That defense is a top defense in the league. And I'll be chance we'll talk about that in a second because I do want to talk about sports betting a little bit. And we can get there. But Pacheco, so many times they give him the ball on first down and he run for 8 or 9 yards. Like if you give Mahomes 2nd and 2 over and over and over again, those are going to be sustained drives. And give Hurts credit too. I mean, Hurts moved the ball. He moved the ball. I want to talk about Kelsey, but I also want to talk about the footing was shit.
Yeah,
it was, and it impacted both teams. So I wouldn't say,
smart,
wow,
though, if you're thinking about if you're actually building a Super Bowl game that you want to be fun, you want it to be like that, though. It evens the playing field.
You don't want anybody to get hurt. Maybe it avoids being hurt because people can't plant. But it definitely impacted the teams more. And I think it may have given the Chiefs an edge because the Chiefs have played there. I think they played their first game of the season there against the Cardinals and complained about that grass.
Yes,
and if you notice that by halftime, they were doing a report on it and they showed a stack of the Eagles cleats on the sideline saying that the Eagles had all changed their cleats and they were trying to get footing, whereas no one on the Chiefs. Meanwhile, in the first half, the Eagles were putting a beating to the Chiefs, so it didn't seem to matter.
I thought the exact same thing. I thought the Eagles are a downhill team, both on offense and on defense. Their offensive line, like if they ran QB sneaks, like basically just move the line, I think they could get 5 yards on average. Do you agree?
So rookie Bolton, he was awesome too. No, I mean the QB sneaks, yes, 100%. Yeah,
but they're a downhill team, and with grass like that, I don't think they could plant. Like you looked at the defensive line, I don't think they got a single sack on Mahomes.
No, maybe 1 or 2 while he was scrambling to tackle behind the line, but yeah, they didn't. That's not their thing. They are. They're going to try to stop you.
And the grass really hurts that.
That's why Pacheco was great. Kelsey, I told Andrew, bet Kelsey. Kelsey's the guy. Kelsey's the guy. He's going to bet his normal stuff, bet his yards. He's going to score a touchdown. You name it, the whole deal. Yeah, but it's a specific type of grass. It was a new grass that's never really been used.
Bermuda
they said
green.
No, they said the name of it. yeah. They said the name of it, and it's like a different kind of grass. Also, I noticed that it was even slippery where it's painted.
That's not true.
The kicker,
nobody picked the Chiefs.
Everyone was saying
it was Josh Allen's league. It's the Bills' season. Nobody picked the Chiefs.
I think he's talking about back in the day. I think what he was saying is in the beginning of the season, right? Not that nobody was picking the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I think what Kelsey was saying was that go back and listen. In the beginning of the year, everybody's talking about how
and towards the end of the season, no one was picking the Chiefs. Eagles are the best team.
They lost Tyreek Hill, blah blah blah.
They lost Tyreek Hill.
Kelsey was.
It's Buffalo Bills. It's Josh Allen's MVP.
He was auditioning for the WWE. He looks like I wouldn't be surprised in the offseason if you saw him jumping off the top turnbuckle against Logan Paul.
All right,
so
but
he's auditioning for that. I said bet Kelsey getting a touchdown, Kelsey receptions, Kelsey over and yards. I said Kelsey's the guy. He's going to get all that. And he did get all those things. But my man
over on the yards.
Yeah, it was like low 70s, right? So what did he get? I think he got in the high
74 and a half.
Yeah. No, but I think he beat that at the end. At the end of the game, I think he got
81. He got 81. 6 for 81.
So, and his 5.5 was his catches. Like the end of the game, he got a catch that put both of those over, and he got the touchdown, obviously, early on.
Let's go.
Tell folks what you did, because when you sent it to me in the beginning, I was like, wow, you're insane. But then after the first quarter, everyone in my house was like, wow, he's going to get both of those.
Yeah.
Tell people what your thought process.
But I didn't wake up this morning upset with either of those.
No, they were good bets.
So Kelsey to score touchdown was minus 180.
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey to be the first Chiefs player to score was plus 200. Kelsey to be first player to score in the game was plus 475. Kelsey to score 2 or more touchdowns was plus 400. And Kelsey to score 3 or more touchdowns was plus 1,700. Yeah. So I'm not going to do minus 180 on one touchdown, but my thoughts were if he gets the first touchdown of the game, maybe in a very important game, Mahomes relies on him. And I played $500 on Kelsey over 2 touchdowns and $500 on Kelsey to score 3 touchdowns. But happy with both of those.
I thought the 2. I thought you were getting the second one in the second quarter.
Yeah, I thought so too. They didn't throw to him that much.
They didn't.
And made me realize a lot about how they scheme. They get Kelsey out in the zone early. The defense has to double him. And the rest of the game, you make Juju Smith-Schuster, Pacheco, all the rest of the offensive players, even Tony, make their life easier because Kelsey takes away so much attention.
Kadarius Toney had a nice run back. The
Eagles punter was, Cage?
Yeah, shoot.
People judge a bet by wins and losses, which is fine. But I think you also need to think through value and over time, right? Like I'll take that bet 100 out of 100 because I think it hits
more
40% of the time.
And that's 17 to 1 or whatever it is. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So
that's smart. I listen, I when I first started, I'm like, why wouldn't he just bet the over? Why wouldn't he just bet the whole deal? Why wouldn't he do that? But yeah, I mean, Mahomes, he had one rush that had over that. I mean, he on a gimpy leg. That was great.
Howard, why is you think people don't like Mahomes or he doesn't get enough love? Like today was all Hurts and how great he was because of his brother and his family is so disliked.
No, that's an easy one to do. No, listen, it happened to Brady too. This is the world. We build people up, and then when they are at the top, people don't want to. There's a heel turn. People want to root against them. You don't want. So people love building up a dynasty or rooting for a team that's heading towards a dynasty. But then after they are, the only people who really root for them are the true fans of them, and then the rest of the world galvanizes against them. And if this same Super Bowl happens next year, where it's Eagles against Mahomes, 90% of the world will be rooting for Hurts to dethrone Mahomes. Because it's great that we establish these GOATs. It's great that we establish these standard bearers for our league. But after they've done it, after they've established themselves as a top person, we root to take them down. This is what happens. We root for the giant killer.
2 questions.
Shoot. You ever met anybody who roots for Goliath? No, right?
So my issue is maybe because I've been betting for a long time and speculating. I'm careful not to be a fan. I think fandom is blinding, and I try to be objective. So, to me,
smart.
I was on the Chiefs this whole game. I'm from Philly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All my buddies, my sister had to put in a bet for me because there's no sports betting here. So I had to ask her to put in a bet for me back in Philly. Think about that. My family is rooting for the Eagles. But to me,
I'm a Raider fan. I wasn't rooting for the Chiefs. I just thought they were going to win.
I think this line should have been -3. -2.5 if you how bad his ankle is. I would have said at -3.5. But I want to ask you, what do you think about the San Francisco 49ers players chirping? And what do you think of the holding call?
Listen, the 49ers players lost. Right? They lost, in a weird way. They lost in a way where their quarterback got injured, but that's not the first time. It's not the last time that's ever going to happen in the NFL. It's one of those things that happens. I personally wouldn't do it. Although I find myself chirping a little bit more now in stories and in comments and stuff, just because it's fun and because it's, I believe, friendly back and forth. These are competitors, so I get it. One of the things
that come off salty to you?
It does, but one of the things you told me when we watched The Last Dance, where I was like, "Wow, Michael Jordan, greatest athlete in the world. He can go out there and just beat everyone, like crazy." And I was surprised to hear him say, I took that personally. I put that up on my bulletin board, and you were the one who came in here with an episode after that saying that this is what people do. They need something to fuel their fire. They need some bulletin board material to get them over the hump. And I think that the Niners guys are looking to pick a fight with the Eagles guys. They're specifically looking to create this rivalry to maybe get them up next year, to get them up for that rivalry next year.
For next year.
Yeah.
You think this about next
year? Yeah.
To me, I lost a lot of respect for the Niners. The Chiefs, I love watching Mahomes all year.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles are my team, Philly. But my third favorite team, watching them play, I really like this Niners team. I like Kyle Shanahan. I like the misdirection of Debo, and then they got McCaffrey. I lost a tremendous amount of respect for Debo. Taking it personally versus salty, I see how it's a fine line. But you remember Jordan came back from retirement. He got called out for wearing number 45 as in 23.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't chirp back. He just changed the jersey. He played 23. He got beat by the Magic, and he said they were better. My feet weren't under me. This was, and he came back next year and he won a championship. He didn't sit there and say, I played baseball for 2 years.
Well,
I retired.
maybe he did, but this is part of it. And it's social media,
interview.
It's the internet. Because these guys are tweeting it. These guys are putting it out there. If there was Twitter back then, who knows what Jordan would have done? You have no idea. And that's part of the whole episode. If you wrap it up in a bow, we can talk about the holding penalty because it wraps right into it. This is the new world. This is new sports. This is the new media. You're going to have people on both sides of it. Micah Parsons was rooting for the Eagles, and people gave him shit. Like, how could you root for those guys? Well, because it's the same conference, NFC. I played those guys all the time. I know those guys, right?
Good team. But
then on the other side, it's the Eagles chirping. So which way? Is it bad? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it good? You're going to get crap either way. And I think what you're seeing here, and I'll roll right into the holding penalty, is there's a microscope on everything. And everyone's out there, and there's no filter. You got Micah talking on Twitter. You got Debo talking on Twitter. You got everybody. There doesn't need to be an interview. They're interviewing themselves and putting it right out there on Instagram.
Yeah, but Micah has no vested interest, where Debo clearly looks salty because he got beat.
Well, Micah got beat too.
By who?
I don't even remember. Who beat the Cowboys? The Niners? No, I don't even remember. Who beat the Cowboys? It doesn't even matter.
No, the chat will remind us.
What was Cowboys. It the Giants? Did the Giants? The Vikings beat them? I don't even remember who beat them. Who did the Cowboys lose?
No, don't remind us in a second.
I forgot who. I'm getting old here. I'm like, I thought it was the Niners. I really did. I thought it was Micah and Bosa, and they were, back and forth, and those were the two. I thought it was Cowboys Niners. I thought.
And then, it was San Francisco beat them 19-12.
Yeah, so there you go. So
after they beat Tampa Bay 31-40.
So it's the same kind of stuff, I mean, he's not salty about the Eagles. He didn't really come after the Niners per se. But the point is, there's a huge light being shined on everything now, right? And the penalty calls, the holding call. What do I think about the holding call? I think that in any game, there are probably a good dozen calls that the refs could call or not call, especially in the trenches. Offensive holding, defensive holding, illegal use of hands to the face, pass interference, offensive pass interference. There was one called on the Eagles, number 3. He was out there blocking, you name it. Like, those are calls that, sure, it's a penalty. But that kind of stuff happens on almost every play, and the refs have a wide discretion to use them or not use them, and to call it or not call it. So, I mean, conspiracy theories abound, recounts and hanging chads and all kinds of stuff. The refs are now going to be under, more of a microscope. And, you got Roger Goodell coming out there saying that this season was officiated better than any season they've ever had. And you got the average fan saying that officiating in the NFL is a joke. And the reason why the average fan says that is because only one team wins the Super Bowl, and the other 30 and change teams can turn around and say, well, we would have won it if it wasn't for those bad calls by the refs.
Something that's not talked about enough. So let's say refs are judged by percentage of right calls, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I think is football, the impact of a right versus wrong call, depending on when it's called, is super different. I'll give you an example. So running into a kicker. If it's 4th and 13 and you call running into a kicker, doesn't even matter. Not even a big deal, right?
Correct.
Running into a kicker, it's 4th and 3.
Yep.
Changes the game. Actually changes the game. A holding call like that on the 40-yard line, okay, nothing really changes. Now they're on the 50. It's no one would even
at that point
argue.
of the game was when that call was. I turned and I said the game's over. They just ended the game.
So that call, forget even where they are on the field because of the time.
Mm-hmm. Now time, yep. Ended the game.
Ended the game.
Yep. There are so many subtle ones.
Just one more second.
Shoot.
That call, the Eagles have 3 timeouts.
Very different.
So situationally, it's not the call. It's how much impact and the context behind every call in football makes it so interesting.
Listen, you have 1st and goal from the 3. Chances are you're going to score a touchdown. If the NFL was in and they didn't want that team to win that game, they call holding on the next play, and all of a sudden it's 2nd and goal from the 13 or 1st and goal from the 13, and it's much harder for that team to get in, and chances are they just cost that team 4 points. It's very easy to make that kind of argument. It's very easy to see that kind of stuff happen. I don't think there's a fix. I don't think there's a script. I don't think that's what it is. I really don't. I think
people are pissed because they were robbed of seeing if Hurts is the guy. Because what would have happened is the Chiefs would have had to kick a field goal, and then we would have got to see is Hurts. Can he drive down the field?
Can he drive down the field? Yeah, and he would have had a timeout.
Actually says he would have.
I said at my party, I said they just took the Eagles would have won that game. There was zero doubt in my mind. The Chiefs, they stopped him a couple times already. They were not going to continue to stop him. That much time.
I don't know if
was almost 2 minutes left.
I don't know if you could say that the Eagles would have won. I think
no, but he would have at least got a field goal. At least got a field goal. 100%.
That's different.
At least would have got the field goal. No, but I think that team, the way that the Eagles front line was playing, if you get to overtime, I really do believe that the Eagles get the ball first, and they will score a touchdown.
Chiefs get the ball first?
Chiefs get the ball first, I think, kick a field goal, and then the Eagles extend the game and probably win by a touchdown. Honestly, people think like, oh, I hate the Eagles. I hate Jalen Hurts. Like, it's funny. I said there was one way that the game could go for the Eagles to win. They had it. The Chiefs needed to bait. It wasn't Mahomes that won it. There were 2 drives in the second half where the Chiefs defense showed up and got them off the field and got the ball back to Mahomes. 2 drives. Gay pressuring Hurts and making him, chase him like crazy, you name it. 2 drives there. And those 2 drives were the difference in the game. They were able to make those stops. That Chiefs defense, they were able to get stout. They were able to make the stops when they needed to make the stops and turn the ball back over to Mahomes to score and put the pressure on. Those were the keys of the game. Hurts played really well, man.
For you, his name was Vito, right?
I did, yeah.
You're a Libra. You're Mr. Consistent, right? You always deliver. Your claims, you get the most money back.
Balanced. That's what I like to say.
You deliver. But Vito, one time, he goes, your call, and he's like, Cage, you won't believe it. I just got us $10 million in settlements. Like, Vito, you never do that. Way to step up. That's the Chiefs defense. You are Mahomes because you deliver all the time. So it's like Mahomes didn't win it. It's Vito who got us this magical interception.
Well, I get it. I understand what you're saying. I guess what I'm talking about is
6 incomplete passes, Cage.
Yeah, but so 6. What? So what? How many Phil Simms cards do you have?
Just stop.
I'm serious. How many Phil Simms cards do you have?
3 touchdowns.
How many Phil Simms cards do you have?
Phil Simms doesn't have 2 MVPs and 2 Super Bowls, dude.
Look up what Phil Simms did in the Super Bowl.
I mean, what do you want? Phil Simms?
Phil Simms, Super Bowl completion.
That's
before you go and fall all over yourself about being 21-27.
I'm not saying that the only reason he's great is because he was 21 and 27. I'm saying this is his 2nd Super Bowl, 2nd MVP, and on a bum ankle after he lost his best wide receiver, and he has to play with skirt-wearing Juju Smith-Schuster versus the best defense. He had 6 incompletion.
He had a very good game finally in the Super Bowl. I gave him credit. I gave him credit there. I did. He had a great game. In the Super Bowl, he hasn't shown up previously. So,
Super Bowl MVP, finished the game with 22 of 25 passes. For
pretty good, right?
Yards and three touchdowns.
22 of 25 in the Super Bowl.
I don't know what Super Bowl this was. Super Bowl 21 versus the Denver Broncos.
Yep, beat the Broncos.
They won 39-20. Bill Parcells was the coach.
Yep.
The Giants were favored by 9.5 points. They were
Giants were great that year. It was mostly defense. Mostly defense that year. Mostly their defense. They had very good defense. But listen, guys, this Eagle team, I'm talking to some of the more reasonable people who no one wanted to bet me. I should be up 3 ETH today.
I know.
Nobody wanted to bet me. One guy came out at halftime. It was 24-14. Says, hey, you still want to put an ETH on it? And I really considered it. Not giving me points, just considered it straight up. It's down 10.
One
I was
ETH
like,
would have got you 4 ETH.
I would have been like, yeah, at that point. But he's no. He was straight up. He's like, you still want to take the Chiefs winning? And I'm like, you want to give me 3 points? Like I would have got more than that. I'm like, you want to give me 3? Like you want to give me something? And no, it never really worked. But I should have just done it anyway, of course. But I should have been up on that game But I'm not. It is what it is. It was a great game. But what I'm telling some of the more reasonable people is you no longer have Brady in the NFC. Not that he was spectacular there anyway. You no longer had, Brady. And Rodgers may go out of the NFC next. Rodgers could go to the Raiders. Rodgers could go to the Jets. You might wind up with an easier NFC. I mean, who knows what the Niners are going to end up doing? Purdy, could be injured, you name it. I mean, why? You may even have less top-line QBs there. Seriously. And, I mean, if I'm Jalen Hurts, fan, if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm excited for next year. Because the one question mark... Shoot.
Vikings.
I'm not worried about either of them. Not worried about them either.
Jaguars, Cardinals, Cowboys, Steelers, Texans, Commanders, Colts, Packers, Titans, Giants, Bears, Cowboys, Saints, Giants. That's
as long as Dak Prescott is the quarterback and Daniel Jones is the quarterback, and who knows what's going to happen in Washington. I think the Eagles should win that division for as long as Hurts is there.
Sure.
Easy.
Sure.
Which gives them, inside track on home field playoff game, you name it. And remember, yes, they play some AFC teams, but it'll still be, I believe, a very weak NFC. I think Jalen Hurts has a potential to be the Cavs LeBron in the Eastern Conference, where everybody else was in the West, and he just continued to go and get to the finals. That's what I like.
Contract?
Well, right now he is, but they're going to change that. But it's less about the rookie contract and more about the lack of, I believe, high-level competition at the quarterback level and at the team level in the NFC presently.
We give no credit to Howie Roseman. You got to bounce?
Yeah.
You got to roll?
Yeah. You can wrap it up. Talk about Howie Roseman. Talk about whatever it is. You get like 1 or 2 minutes.
4 minutes till the pool guy comes? Or is he here? Is he
I don't know, but I don't want to not.
Is he early? This is what we need to know.
I have no idea. He could.
If you're not early or late,
this is true. But I want to make sure I'm available for if the person does show up. Yes.
Why don't we just cap it when he knocks? You'll be like, over.
I won't hear him knock.
How can you not? Because you have headphones.
Because I have a house where there are different parts of my house. I won't hear him knock. I have headphones. I'm nowhere near my front door. Joe Montana was a quarterback. You crazy? Yes, he was. Okay.
This is what worries me about our hobby. This is the people who are commenting.
What happened to Joe Montana? What?
This is the issue.
Do we mention Joe Montana?
No, Phil Simms.
Phil Simms.
But Phil Simms, you go Joe Montana.
Or maybe you meant Joe Montana. Great actor, Joe Montana.
I was thinking a lot about Joe Montana. Do you know Joe Montana's 4-0 in Super Bowls?
Yes, I do.
4-0. He didn't throw a single interception.
What took salty, though? He's even salty. He came out because of Joe Montana. He came out talking about how Tom Brady celebrated as the GOAT. But he didn't get the same kind of treatment in San Francisco as Brady got, where Jimmy Garoppolo came along and they shipped out Garoppolo and they let him bring in his Gronk and his friends and run it back and the whole deal. And he basically saying, look, I got shafted. I got sent out. And Steve Young took over for me. And the Niners had a great team with Jerry Rice and Steve Young. And imagine if they would have stuck by me the way that the Patriots stuck by Brady during that time, I would have had the Steve Young Super Bowls too.
Maybe. Steve Young was really good, bro. Really good. I think
no
Steve Young
problem
had one of the highest completion percentages.
No problem. And he was a lefty, and he was mobile before that was like in vogue. He was, he could actually move a little fleet of foot. And the Niners clearly did well with him. One of the biggest blowout Super Bowls I ever watched, where they beat up on San Diego. And he had 6 touchdowns in that game. But I think Montana came out and said this week was, hey, give me those Super Bowls too. I would have won those.
Joe, you're doing good. By the way, if you guys don't know, Joe signs autographs still. Like if there's one guy to still go and get autographs from, I think Joe's incredible. So we talked about Hurts player and cards, Mahomes players cards, Kansas City offense versus the defense.
Yeah, we touched on all your topics. They were good ones.
SF players, holding call, anything you want to touch on before the pool guy comes and you do your thing.
No, man, we touched
pool
on
guy February 13th. Smart, brilliant.
Because I need a new liner. Got to do that quickly. You got to get it measured. I got to order it. I got to get the whole thing redone. My liner ripped last year. So what I'll say is to the folks out there who are waking up this morning as Jalen Hurts fans and Eagles fans and are not happy. Yes, yesterday did not go the way you wanted it to go as far as a win, but you have to be smiling. You have to take stock in how good your team did this year, how a lot of the arguments being made against the Eagles, oh, it was a weak schedule, they never played anyone, they never did anything, then blah, blah, blah. Hurts isn't a quarterback. Every one of those has been shot down. Even arguments that I've made, even arguments about how you can't let Hurts have to make a comeback. He made a comeback. He let it come back. That team, if they can keep it together, is going to do great things and win a lot of games. And, take it from someone who's a Raider fan and has been watching the Raiders for the last, couple decades do nothing. I'd be excited to be an Eagles fan today. Sure, I would have liked to have had a Super Bowl parade and a trophy, but that team is going to be winning way more than they are losing for the next decade. And that's a good thing for a fan. You can be watching wins, you can be watching meaningful football, you're going to have a chance to play for championships going forward. And that's, I think, all you can ask for as a fan.
$1,200 to sign his rookie. Not expected. Luca Nation, we hope you enjoyed this. We'll probably do more lives if we feel like it, if you guys aren't annoying and frustrating as fans.
We love every one of you guys. Don't say that. We love you all.
It's not true. That is not true.
I love everyone.
Speak for yourself. I love everybody. You could say that, and then I'll speak.
I do. It's been fun. Guess what? It's baseball season now, guys, so get excited. Go Raiders, just saying, Jimmy Guns.
It's basketball season, actually.
It's baseball season. It's official. Baseball.
And now the narrative is Darvin Ham has been running LeBron into the ground and his foot issues because he's playing too many minutes. I can't stand this guy.